Hey guys, so I wanted to do a little bit of a Vincent update. The last time I updated him on Vincent, he was 4 months old, and now he's 8 months old. And I did an update when he was like 5-6 months old, but I can't find the footage, so I'm just gonna start from when he was 4 months old to 8 months old. And let me tell you, a lot has happened in 4 months. When he was 4 months old, after we got released from the hospital, we were waiting to get into PT-OT, which we did, and we started doing PT-OT shortly after that last video. He's been going to it for about almost 4 months now, and he does it like 2 times a week. With PT-OT, they taught me, showed me how to get him to roll over and stuff like that, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna get this kid like rolling over, and I'm rolling him over like 10-12 times a day, and he still seems to be struggling. I started to notice one of the biggest problems for him was he was very unbalanced. It was like his balance was off, but it was related to his vision, because when he would look at things, it was like he would look at them, it was like he was trying to decide which eye to look at things with, and so his eyes weren't really working together. So because he was doing this a lot, he was just kind of very wobbly and shaky. The ophthalmologist, when he was 3 months old, she said his eyes were fine. And so I was like, there's something going on with this kid's eyes, because there's no way that his eyes are fine. I phoned them. I was like, I really need to get in. And they're like, well, you're on the wait list. We'll see you in March, which it's not even March right now. But I was like, no, you guys gotta get me in sooner than that. Like, it's like one eye sees far and one eye sees close, and it's like he's not, converging properly. It's like he's really unbalanced. His head is very shaky. So they made an exception to get us in a little extra early. It wasn't even the pediatric ophthalmologist. It was her assistants. Her assistants came in, and I don't know if you guys know what teller cards are, but they're like the cards with like horizontal lines or pictures or whatever, and you hold it up, and they were flashing a bunch of teller cards at him. They did that for like 15 or 20 minutes. And then the pediatric ophthalmologist came in. She shook a couple toys at him. She said, well, his eyes are fine. There's nothing wrong with his eyes. She said there's something wrong with his brain. To which I was pretty frustrated with, because through this whole entire process, I'm not saying that there wasn't something wrong with his brain, but I knew definitely there was something wrong with his eyes. She didn't do anything. She didn't check his eye culture. She didn't do any camera imaging to see if this is optic nerve issues. Was that looking healthy? You can't just flash some teller cards at a baby and say, yeah, his eyes are fine. I mean, you need to run tests. You need to look at him with the specific lenses to really see what's going on. One of the reasons why I was super frustrated with this pediatric ophthalmologist is because I have gone to a pediatric ophthalmologist. There's only 2 in Saskatoon, which really sucks, but I have experience with the other one because Quinn actually started going to her when he was like 3 months old, because he has an anisocoria, so the pupils are different sizes. And when he went in at 3 months old, they did like a whole bunch of stuff. They were dilating his pupils every time. They were, they had all these special equipments that they hooked up to, and they did camera imaging and the whole shebang. The appointment would take 3 hours, and they did that every 3 months, checking Quinn's eyes, and Quinn's eyes didn't even appear to have any effect on him. Screw this. I am not happy with this pediatric ophthalmologist. I need to see the other one. I know that she is much better, more thorough. I phoned them, and of course I can't get in without a referral. And so I'm trying to get a hold of my pediatrician, the referral, to see the other pediatric ophthalmologist. And they make the appointment. They say, I call them, they're like, okay, you can have an appointment. It's next week, and quote, she'll call you sometime within that week. That was, the total of 2 weeks. So I phoned, had to wait a week, and then I was waiting the entire week to hear from the from the pediatrician. She didn't call that week. And so I tried to call the office back to be like, okay, I didn't hear from the pediatrician, except that was over Christmas time. The office was closed from the 21st to the 4th of January. And so this is super frustrating, because we're talking 5 freaking weeks before I can even get a hold of a pediatrician, before I can even get a referral into another ophthalmologist, before I can even, so I don't know. I was just feeling really frustrated and down. I knew that his vision was really affecting him. Took him to our optometrist and she put the referral in, and like literally they were calling him in to see him like the next week. She was very thorough. She like patched his eyes to see which was going on with each eye. They took images, did all of the testing, and at the end of it, she said, "You're exactly right, that not only does he have a moderate astigmatism in both of his eyes, he's completely farsighted. That's why he wasn't really interacting with faces or looking at things, because not only could he not see it, but it would be blurry. And that's why he would always be looking across the room, or it seemed like he could see better far away." And she said, and you're right about his eyes, because the one eye was a plus 3.75 and the other one's like 2 something. So he is deciding, you know, when he would look at people, if it was close, he would look with the closer eye, and if it was far, he would look with the far eye. Naturally, he needs glasses. It's really frustrating to get such a different, you know, experience from specialists that are in the same field. Went in to get his glasses ordered, which unfortunately though, it took 10 days for them, almost 2 weeks for them to come in, because his prescription is a higher prescription, so they had to take some more time to make it or whatever. Now he has his glasses. He was all of a sudden, you know, really seeing a whole lot better. The only downside that I have to say about that pediatric ophthalmologist is it seemed like she was very hesitant to give a baby glasses. And I don't really understand why. When she prescribed his glasses, she gave him a prescription that wasn't for the full amount, so it's a little bit off still. And I can tell because once you get in closer, he starts getting wobbly again, because the prescription is off by like an entire prescription, so at least plus 1.5, and I don't know what that equates into inches, but once you get to a certain point, you can start seeing his inability to kind of see is clearly come out. You're not gonna put the wrong prescription on an adult and then tell him to go walk down the hallway, so I don't really know why. Now that we got past his vision, we were starting to get him onto solid foods. The first time we were in the hospital, I had mentioned to the doctors that he always kind of seemed to like cough and choke when he was nursing, and they just thought it was because I had a fast letdown, and they told me to kind of pump and, you know, kind of go along with that. But now that we were starting to feed him food, we were noticing something really strange kind of going on. It was like he was excited to eat, he was really hungry to eat, and he'd be eating, and then all of a sudden he would stop and he'd be screaming like he was in pain. And he'd have, you know, times in the evening where like it was just like he was screaming for a really long time, like something was hurting him, like something was very wrong. He was always projectile vomiting, like he's upset and something's wrong and we need to figure it out and fix it. She said, "That's a long list of things that are going wrong. I'm just going to go ahead and throw you guys back into the hospital." They ran a whole host of tests. They did another round of EEG and blood work. We were sent for a modified barium swallowing study. That's when they found that he has been aspirating when he swallows, and that's why it's like he's eating, and then all of a sudden he stops and screams in pain, is because it's going down the wrong tube. They also, with all of the throwing up, just causing him, you know, a lot of pain and burning and discomfort. So we were prescribed onto some medications to help manage that discomfort. Now with his glasses and his medications, he's finally able to be on his tummy, because before, if I put him on his tummy, not only could he not see, but it would be like burning pain, and that's why he would freak out. I'm going to just keep working with him as much as I can with all of the new developments that we've had to help him, and we were put in through another round of genetics testing, so we're going to do another round to test for some certain syndromes, and she said if all of those come back negative, then they're kind of doing like a genetic sequencing. She described it as like a microarray in the genetics world, and she said if we don't find off of these ones that we're testing right now, she said generally if there's something, we'll find it in the next test that they're planning on doing. So we're waiting for those test results to come back. They're about 4 weeks away. Like with him, it's like being a new parent all over again, like just so different. I don't know what the future holds for us, but we're trying to do everything that we can to make sure that we're doing the best for Vincent. And normally I feel like I'm pretty on top of life, but lately I feel like life's kind of been getting on top of me. love our little boy and we always hope for the best, and I will do another update after he gets his new glasses and has those on for a while. Check in next time.